Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 6 and we would like to explain about case studies. But before we start our presentation, let me introduce our group members. Start from me. My name is Narulita Kusuma Wardani as the first presenter, and then Pinka Anjela Kusuma Cahyani as the second presenter, and then Ilmi Firdaus Aliyah as the last presenter. So I will start our presentation with the definition of case study. So what is case study? A case study is an in-depth study of one person, group, or event. Basically, a case study is an in-depth study of a particular situation rather than a sweeping statistical survey. It is a method used to narrow down a very broad field of research into one easily researchable topic. In case study, nearly every aspect of the subject's life and history is analyzed to see patterns and causes of behavior. Case studies can be used in a variety of fields including psychology, medicine, education, anthropology, political science, and social work. Okay, I will continue to the next slide. It's about how to design. So it means that how we design our case study. The advantage of the case study research design is that you can focus on specific and interesting cases. This might be an attempt to test a theory with a typical case, or it can be specific topic that is of interest. Research should be thorough and note-taking should be meticulous and systematic. Here there are 4 points. Number 1 is the subject and relevance. In a study, in a case study, you are deliberately trying to isolate a small study group on maybe one individual case or one particular population. Number 2 is plan and design. It means that plan and design how you are going to address the study and make sure that all collected data is relevant. Unlike a scientific report, there is no strict set of rules, so that the most important part is making sure that the study is focused and concise. Otherwise, you will end up having to wade through a lot of irrelevant information. Number 3 is make a short list. It means that make a short list of 4 or 5 bullet points that are going to try and address during the study. If you make sure that all research refers back to this, then you will not be far wrong. And then the number 4 is be passive. It means that it is important to be passive in your research. You are much more of an observer than an experimenter, and you must remember that even in a multi-subject case, each case must be treated individually, and then cross-case conclusion can be drawn. Okay, I will continue to the next slide. It's about strengths and weaknesses. I will start from the strengths. Here there are 4 points. Number 1 is case study allows researchers to investigate things that are often difficult to impossible to replicate in a lab. And then number 2, case studies allows researchers to collect a great deal of information. Number 3 is case study give researchers the chance to collect information on rare or unusual cases. And then number 4 is case study allows researchers to develop hypotheses that can be explored in experimental research. And then how about the weaknesses? Here there are 3 points. Number 1 is case study allows researchers to collect a great deal of information. Number 2 is case studies give researchers the chance to collect information on rare or unusual cases. And then the last is case studies allows researchers to develop hypotheses that can be explored in experimental research. In this case, researchers might choose to perform a case study if they are interested in exploring a unique or recently discovered phenomenon. The insight gained from such research can then help the researcher develop additional ideas and study questions that might then be explored in the future studies. So I think that's all from me. For the next slide will be continued by the next presenter. So Pinka Angela, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time, Ruli. I will explain about how to analyze the result. Analyzing result for a case study tends to be more opinion-based than statistical methods. The usual idea is to try and collect your data into a manageable form and construct a narrative around it. And use example in your narrative wheels, keeping things concise and interesting. It is useful to show some numerical data, but remember that you are only trying to judge trends and not analyze every last piece of data. Consciously revert back to your bullet points so that you do not lose focus. Okay, next. Okay, the next is type of qualitative case studies. A case study is a type of ethnographic research study that focuses on a single unit, such as one individual, one group, one organization, or one program. The goal is to arrive at a detailed description and understanding of the entity, the case. In addition, case study can result in data from which generalization to the theory are possible. Case studies can answer descriptive questions, what happened, or attempt to explain why something happened by looking a process. Okay. Uh, for example, is use the case study extensively in building his theory of personality. Case study use multiple methods such as interviews, observation, and archive to gather data. Thank you. Next presentation. The next presentation will be delivered by Ilmi Firdaus.
Okay, thank you for the time. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, I will explain about the case study as a research method. Using case study for research purpose remains one of the most challenging of all social science endeavors. The purpose of this book is to help you and experiences or building social scientists to deal with the challenge. Your goal is to design good case studies and to collect, present, and analyze data fairly. A further goal is to bring the case study to closure by writing a compelling report, or book. So, do not underestimate the depth of your challenge. Although you may be ready to focus on designing and doing case study research, others may expose and advocate other research methods. Similarly, prevailing federal or other research found may favor other method, but not the case study. As a result, you may need to have ready responses to some inevitable questions. The first and foremost, you should explain and show how you are devoting yourself to following a rigorous methodological path. The path begins with a true literature review and a careful and truthful posing or research question or objective. Equally important will be dedication equally important will be a dedication to formal and explicit procedures when doing your research. The second is you should understand and openly acknowledge the strength and limitation of case study research. Such research, like any other, complements the strength and limitation of other types of research. In the face of those who might only cite the need for a single research method, this book believes that just a different scientific method prevailing the nature science. Diverse social science research methods fill different needs and situations for investigation social science topics. For instance, in the natural science, astronomy is a science but does not rely on the experimental method. Next. The next is variation within case studies as a research method. The first is case study research includes both single and multiple case studies. Through some fields, such as political science and public administration, have tried to distinguish between these two approaches and have used short term as the comparative case method is as a distinctive form of multiple case studies. You can see at Agronoff and Radin 1991, Dion 1998, Lippard 1975. Single and multiple case studies are in reality but two variants of case study design. The second is case studies can include and even be limited to quantitative evidence. In fact, any contrast between quantitative and qualitative evidence doesn't distinguish the various research methods. Note that, as analogous example, some experiments, such as studies or perceptions, and some survey questions, such as thus seeking categorical rather than numerical responses, rely on qualitative and non-quantitative evidence. Likewise, historical research can include enormous amount of quantitative evidence. And as a related but important note, the case study method is not just a form of qualitative research, even though it may be recognized among the array of qualitative research choices. Some case study research goes beyond being a type of qualitative research by using mix of quantitative and qualitative evidence. In addition, case studies need not always include the direct and detailed observation evidence marked by other forms of qualitative research. The third is case studies can be conducted and written with many different motives. This motive vary from the simple presentation of individual cases to the desire to arrive at broad generalizations based on case study evidence, but without presenting any of the individual case studies separately. And the last is next. And the last is case studies have a distinctive place in evaluation research. See Kropatz and Associates 1980, Patton 2002, U.S. Government Accountability Office 1990. There are at least 4 different applications. The first is the most important is to explain the prism causal link in real-life interventions that are too complex for the survey or experimental strategies. The second is application is to describe an intervention and the real-life context in which it occurred. The third is case studies can illustrate certain topics within an evaluation, again in a descriptive mode. And the last is the case study strategy may be used to enlighten those situations in which the intervention being evaluated has no clear single set of outcomes. Whether where the application one contents theme is the program sponsor rather than research investigation alone may have the prominent role in defining the evaluation question and decide data categories. Okay, I think that's all for me. The next back to moderator.
Okay, I think that's all from our group. If you have question, you can write down your question in the comment columns. And then thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.